Hey everybody, and welcome back to another video. So actually this is going to be an interesting kind of topic and experience that I'm going to share with you guys, because I know a lot of people are on the fence, and well, I'm just going to share my experience. So this is day 2 post getting my first vaccine shot, and I was lucky enough to get the Pfizer vaccine. Now, my experience going through the process of getting it was actually pretty interesting and simple, because the one area that I went to, so I went to a university that is in my area that is basically doing the vaccine. So honestly, it was the most simplest experience. First I go online, book a time, and then show up at that time. You have to show up 10 minutes before your shot, because there's kind of a process of you have to do a self-screening thing, or you can go to somebody and they will ask you the questions, and basically you can cut a whole bunch of red tape and go forward, and then you go to this other area where they get you information, they pull out your health records, make sure everything's safe and whatnot, and then they send you to another room, and that's where you get your shot, and then you have to wait 15 minutes just in case you have a reaction, and then you're set to go. So all in all, basically the whole experience took about, I would say 30 to 40 minutes. There wasn't a very long wait time, it was very in and out. The reasons why I had to get my vaccine is because I do have people around me that are immune compromised and, elderly. And, it is my duty to help protect them and get my vaccine. And also now, because apparently my work is I guess we'll take you back now, since it's been a few months. So I also had to do it for that reason too. Even though I didn't know at the time that I had to get it to go back to work. I actually got it prior to finding out that I can go back to work, but they're like, well, hey, you should get your vaccine. I was like, okay, cool, I already have my first one. So usually, originally, the time, at the whole beginning, when the whole vaccine process came out, they said you have to wait, you get your first shot, then you have to wait 20 days, and then you get your second shot. Well, here in Canada, things are moving really, really fucking slow. So I have to wait 4 months. So I have to wait till September, end of August, beginning of September, tentatively, let me get to that, where I get my second dose. What I say tentatively is where I was talking to a nurse and well, hey, your date might change because we might not have enough vaccines, so it might be pushed further. Sorry? I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. I'm still in that bracket of I can still get COVID, right? And you can even get COVID with the shots. And being fully vaccinated, even though there's a lower chance, you can still get it. It's basically like the flu, right? Except a lot more deadlier. So what are my signs and symptoms after getting my vaccine, my first vaccine? First is I am exhausted, just exhausted. And it feels like I've been hit by a train, run over by a bus, and then hit by a train again. That is how I feel. Every joint in my body is stiff and sore. It's very hard to move. I had a really, really bad migraine for about a day and a half. It's finally subsiding, which is great. I do have a little bit of a fever, but that's mostly, all of this is to be expected by the shot, because basically you are getting injected with COVID, not a high dose, but it helps build up your immune system basically when it comes down to it. So those are basically my symptoms so far. I know a lot of people, are gonna be kind of like, oh, well, you know, there's not enough information. I agree 100%. That I was very much wanting to wait a little bit longer until I got my vaccine. Unfortunately, I don't have that choice due to my work environment that I'm going to be going back into, and also, you know, being around people that are immune compromised and elderly. You know, I didn't really have a choice in the matter of, you know, just those many factors going into this, because basically some people can be like, well, you can say fuck the work and, you know, fuck those people in your life. Unfortunately, my work, our government here in Canada is quite interesting, I think. So they do have COVID support, which is very nice. You know, it's very, very helpful. However, there's a lot of like pros and cons to that. The first bout that happened last year, we did have to repay the government the money, some of the money or all of the money that, you know, they gave us depending on your taxes and all that good adult stuff. The second bout that they did, because we did go into a state of emergency, which, you know, we basically haven't gone out of, but that's a whole other fucking story, is it was taxable, so they took off all the taxes that they needed to, thank fuck. So luckily, this money that they give us, we don't necessarily have to pay back. However, there's a whole, because basically it's like a paycheck, right? However, in order, to get this money, there's a lot of like, there's this whole like questionnaire thing that you have to go through and like tick off, like, oh, you know, are you over the age of 15? Can you work? Social insurance number, all that good stuff. And then it comes to like, this is where it is where basically, well, are you well and able to work? Did you decline any work? So basically, which I think is very like a loophole for the government, is basically you can't say no to work or else you'll be fucked and not be able to get any support from the government. Even if it's not a safe environment or you don't feel safe going into that environment for working, if you said no to work, you can't get support until, like, unless you find another job type of thing, right? But that is kind of on your record. So, like, people are like, well, why did you leave that job? Especially during COVID when it is hard to find jobs. So that's kind of like, the government kind of blacklists you in a way, which I think is pretty shitty. Even if the environment is safe, you don't feel comfortable working in that environment. Basically, they're saying you can't say no to work. So, like, either way, like, even if you're not going for the government help, which is, like, you're well set off or whatever, and you don't need the government help, it still looks bad on your record when you're applying for your next employmentship. There we go. And, you know, it makes it a lot more difficult. And I found that out by doing research into this whole kind of loophole that the government has set forth. Which, again, I think is very uncool, because, again, you could be in an environment that's not really good. Like, for my work, I'm thankful that I do have the opportunity to go back to this job. However, it doesn't feel like the same job that I had like a year ago or even a few months ago. Just the whole, it feels very hostile in that environment, and especially the department that they want me to go into. It's very, they already have the group of employees in this certain department that I'm going into, and it just feels like you're on the outside. Even though they kind of try to make you feel warm and welcome, it's kind of, they make you kind of feel like on the outside. And especially since I got really sick and I've been off since mid-February, so March, April, May, 3 months. And, like, they've basically put it on like that it was my fault. And the shitty part was, like, I can't force my doctor to give me a doctor note because again, there's a whole bunch of like loopholes, but basically my sickness had originally, yes, the thought that there was a COVID connection to it. However, it turned out that it wasn't a COVID connection, it just whatever the fuck I'm going through. It's just like the doctors won't sign off on a doctor's note, because I was talking to a few doctors in my doctor, and they said if it's not COVID related, we don't necessarily have to give you a doctor's note, due to the fact that we are in a COVID time, which is whatever. And for my work, they needed a doctor's note, and I was just like, well, I can't fucking force, a forgery, and I can't force a doctor to give me a note. And that's the whole thing. And they're like, well, you could be fired. And I'm like, okay, then fucking fire me. Like, honestly, like, what am I supposed to do? Like, no doctor's gonna give me a note, just be like, hey, you had a cough. You're not contagious? Like, what? Like, if we weren't in COVID time, I wouldn't need a doctor's note. I would either just go back to work. I'd be like, hey, I got a cough. I'm not contagious. Like, okay, cool, come back. But now it's like you have to go through all these loopholes, and if you don't, you could be fired, which I think is personally bullshit, because of the fact is I can't fucking force a doctor to sign a doctor's note. So I know going into that environment is going to be very hostile, which is not good for my fucking anxiety. And like I can always, like, I can sense it through the texts too, and it just makes me so fucking uncomfortable. Like, I want to come back to work, and I have stated that to them, like, for months, and it's just like, well, basically, they're like, you're a dumbass, get the note, like, so I'm just going into an environment with that. So this is kind of like a tangent off to the topic that we were talking about, but anyways, just to give you guys some background of basically why I had to get the vaccine. And again, there isn't enough information about it, and, like, every day there's new information coming off about the vaccines. I mean, they're pulling the AstraZeneca one off that was having issues on the fucking blood clots, especially in women. And here in Canada, they're like, oh, hey, we don't give a shit about you guys. We're just gonna give it to you. Basically, they're like, that it weighs, possibly dying from the anazec, whatever the fuck it is, shot, compared to dying from COVID, it's a lower risk from dying from the AstraZeneca shot than COVID. And I was just like, what the fuck? And now, so that was like 2 weeks ago, and there has been a lot more blood clot cases related to that. They're like, oh, we're gonna postpone it till maybe your second shot. That's not fucking good. Still. However, the province that I live in here, the lovely Ontario, the government is like, we'll think about it. We'll think about pulling it. We're not too sure. So just continue on doing what you guys are doing, and we'll think about it. What? So the rest of Canada is just like, okay, hold off. We'll maybe hold off until the second dose. Potentially, like they're looking more into it of saying like, okay, no. The Ontario where I live is just like, nah, fuck you bitches, you're getting it, type of thing. Like, what the fuck? I am lucky that I did not get that. I got the Pfizer shot, and you can bet your petunies that if they said that you have to get that AstraZeneca one, fuck that. I was not going to get that until I was going to get the Pfizer one. Again, there's still the risks of me getting COVID, and that's just a fucking thing. I mean, I knew that this wasn't going to be, a fucking miracle dose here of like, oh, it's going to fucking, the Holy Grail here was going to fucking save you. I knew that was not going to fucking happen because, they've been talking for months and months and months about it potentially being like a flu, even though it's like, it's, higher up there than the flu. It's, it's still that type of thing of like, you can still get it and you might need a booster shot in a year. And it's just like, okay, whatever, like, I'll get it and see what happens. Either way, it is what it is. I just want to protect the people that are around me. And of course, you know, it is going to come out, basically, it's going to be mandatory for everybody to get it. Even though that's kind of very not the best approach, you know what I'm saying? It's very, people a little bit, what's the, I don't want to sound like a bitch, but here we go. Okay, people are very, very fucking pussies. And I say that with the utmost respect, but I mean, seriously, guys, like, I don't know what to say. It's basically like going back to when, granted, a little bit different because you are putting shit into your body, but here it goes. It's basically going back to the whole mask thing. When finally our government was like, hey, masks are mandatory, you have to fucking wear them, or else you won't be allowed into, like, grocery stores and all that shit. A lot of people are like, well, that's very communist. Like, that's controlling. That's fucking saving lives, bitches. Like, fuck you. Like, I'm sorry, but a lot of people aren't used to being told you have to fucking do this or else. You know, a lot of people are used to, we've talked about this in multiple videos, are so used to, you know, being able to do what they want, having options and stuff. And when you finally sit down somebody say, no, bitch, fucking do this, they have a hissy fit. It's like toddlers. Like when you tell them no, and, you know, they have to learn the hard way about something, or, you know, they can't have that and they have a complete meltdown in the grocery store and you have to pick their asses up and take them out, or let them do that. You know, that's the whole thing. A lot of people are toddlers these days, and they just completely have meltdowns. Granted, pushing shit into your body that hasn't really been around for a long time is completely fucking different. I understand that, and I respect people's choices of not getting it. However, when it does come down the pipeline that, you know, this should, like, you know, if you want to travel outside of Canada, it will be mandatory for you to have a vaccine. People should not lose their shit and be like, that's very demanding and communism. That's just fucking protecting the planet, okay? Like, if you want to leave your home and fucking go to, you know, the moon, for example, you know, it's not, you know, the end of the fucking world that you have to get vaccine, okay? Vaccinated. Vaccinated. Hello. Speak English. I get it. I'm gonna get a lot of fucking hate. I understand that. And it's just, it is what it is, okay, guys? If we lived back in 1918, okay, and we lived through the Spanish flu, a lot of us would not be fucking alive today. Because you know what? They had fucking two things going for them. No goddamn social media. I mean, nothing. No social media, you know, telephones were just becoming like a thing. Yeah, sure, there was a little bit of the news, like, radios and stuff, but it wasn't as fucking crazy as it is, today. And basically, they said, you know what? If you want to go to school, if you want to leave the house, wear a fucking goddamn mask. And everybody did. And that is why they were able to nip that flu in its butt and stop it in its tracks. Yes, it did take a little bit, and yes, a lot of fucking people died, but people fucking listened. And they wore their masks with no complaints. They just went on it. You know, there wasn't this universe of social media where you're getting the whole complete, like, left, right, and center, and all these fucking opinions, and, you know, all these conspiracies, and all of these different, like, I don't know. It's just a whole other world of itself, and this is why people are getting not the right information. I mean, as it is, we're barely getting the right information from our governments because fucking governments these days. But it's just, it's crazy. It blows my mind when, you know, we're asked to do a simple thing. And even to this day, a year and a half into this fucking virus, and people are still bitching and complaining about wearing masks. Like, what the fuck? It is a goddamn mask. It is not fucking, I don't know, it's just a fucking mask. Like, you can go in a building, wear a mask, come out, go into your vehicle or go into your house and you don't have to fucking wear it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is not the end of the world, but people are still throwing tantrums about it. You know? And here's the thing, and they're saying eventually, you know, if people get vaccinated and, you know, cases drop and blah, 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 we'll be able to remove our masks. But in order to get to that point of not wearing masks, is like, fucking people need to, like, wear fucking masks, you know, and do their part. And it just blows my mind that people are still throwing tantrums about it, still, you know, campaigning to end wearing masks. And it's just like, what the hell? I mean, here in Ontario, God bless Ontario, we have recently just come down under 3,000 cases. Since fucking March? April. Something like that. I don't know, it's been a fucking while. It's like 7-8 weeks almost. And we are just slowly coming past under 3,000. And people are like, hey, it's a fucking miracle. And, you know, people just like, oh yeah, now we can go out. We are under 3,000 cases, people. That is not like we're like, you know, we have 5 cases. We're still in the thousands here. And, you know, fucking, I don't know, there is literally bumper to bumper here. And we're supposed to be in a state of emergency lockdown. Nobody's supposed to leave the house unless it's essential or you're working, blah, blah, blah. And it is literally bumper to bumper in traffic these days. And it's just like, nobody's listening to the goddamn rules because everybody's fucking tired. And I understand that. We're a year and a half into this shit. But everybody fucking better strap in because it's going to be another fucking 2, 3, 4 years if y'all don't listen, you know? And I'm not saying everybody's like this. I mean, it's just this small group, this small percentage that just fucks it for everybody. And it's just like, you know, gyms haven't been able to open in a year here in Ontario, especially. You know, small businesses haven't been able to open. I mean, as soon as they open, they get shut down because the government's just like, ooh, they're the cases. Small businesses have been closed for practically a year and a half. And, we're still in the thousands cases. So how the fuck are small businesses the problem here? Like, I don't know. I get it. People are frustrated. People are tired. And it's just a whole bunch of just chaotic bullshit that nobody wants to listen to. Nobody wants to help the people that need help. And it's just loophole after loophole. And it's just like, it's just a whole bunch of bullshit. I don't know. I don't know. You know, I'm one of these people that is fucking exhausted. And, you know, I'm still going to be working on this side project because it is my heart and soul right now. Slowly going to put these pieces together, but unfortunately I do have to go to a work environment that I don't exactly feel, you know, safe and whatnot in. But hey, I don't got a fucking choice in this matter, you know? And I just gotta, you know, hope to fuck that it's a lot. It's a lot of mental shit, and, you know, there are worse situations out there. Not that I'm complaining about, like, you know, comparing or whatever. It's just, you know, mentally it's a lot for me to take in right now, and fucking, you know. Sorry guys, that is my rant and kind of post Pfizer shot. I will be hopefully back on a semi-regular schedule. I have just been a little bit all over the place, and I hope to be doing a video soon about kind of filling you guys in about what's going on besides all this that I talked in this video. But there's a lot of stuff that's also behind the scenes that is going on, and I just really hope that I can share this a little bit with you guys of the journey of what is going on and excitement. However, until that time, guys, I will be back to doing some regular videos because I do have some true crime cases and also some kind of open-ended conversation topics that we're going to talk about, because there's been a few that I've been getting emails about, so stay tuned for that. And remember, guys, never give up, always keep fighting, you're enough, and you're very much loved. Until the next video, guys, I love you guys. Bye.